do not sleep on Even in Death. They've been playing in Pro League all Phase 2. They've leveled up. Let's see what Battleground we're going to for game number 2 in the series. The pick is Even in Death once again.
Even in Death, we see HeroesHearth opting to take first pick, so we will get Tomb of the Spider Queen. I imagine Diablo will be something to consider. I don't know if they'll feel comfortable with it. After that play, they just lacked the CC, lacked any form of control in that map, so we'll see if things come out a little bit differently here. And we have seen different style play. This is the map you talked about, Medivh. We haven't seen an Arthalon Medivh in a while. It's been a bit, but I mean, it's something they can run.
And it's not a bad idea to do that now because we have no idea what they're going to draft. But at the end of the day, they played, what was it, 8 or 9 games versus imported support like 2 days ago, like 3 days ago. And that is all fresh, current patch information that Even in Death has studied and taken notes when it comes to drafting, rotations, everything. And it's not that HeroesHearth doesn't have intel on Even in Death, but mixing up the way you're drafting is a crucial part to, getting the win in the draft at least.
It's definitely a big part. I want to see HeroesHearth just flex a little. Bring me some of that swagger back. Bring me some of that confidence that you've had throughout the last several cups that you probably got deflated a bit in that winner's final. But after winning the grand finals, after coming that, show me that confidence. Sometimes when that confidence wanes a little, your play will suffer a little. I want to see them bring it back, find something to be a bit more aggressive, get that first kill, and then just visually see things at that point. I think sometimes that's a pretty big deal.
So many teams are momentum-based. And right now, Even in Death do have that momentum. HeroesHearth, however, seasoned. McIntyre, Arthalon, Crowan, they've been on the big stage. They want that big stage back. And if they want it, they got to perform. Once again, we're seeing a medic hover here. Gul'dan was banned out. When you saw Lutanos play in the last game, and it's a map where clear is important, I think that's a pretty justified ban.
It's great for the map. Great play last game. I'd say it's definitely warranted. The Morales ban does, in fact, get locked in. We saw the Rhaegar first pick last time. They ended up going the double support. Rhaegar, of course, is kind of at the top of the food chain for the supports right now, but I don't know if they'll have the same comfort level. Yeah. They end up going into the Tassadar, which is a lot more their play style.
You mentioned at the start of last draft, right? You were expecting the early task just because he fulfills so many flexible roles for the team. Oftentimes, they are going to be playing something like Vala, Cassia, and Greymane. And Tassad's great with that, so we do have Tassadar first pick for Even in Death. ETC.
ETC Rhaegar. It's really hard to go wrong with both of those. ETC, we've seen the high priority on ETC across all regions as of late. Now, Vala's let through. We've seen them fall back to Cassia as needed. Can you play around that? Can you potentially, if they don't pick up Vala or Cassia here, if you're Even in Death, can you ban one and pick up one for yourself? And will that come back to hurt HeroesHearth, or will they commit to it here in the early part?
I feel like they're going to grab it. I feel like they typically go for Crowan's hero as soon as they can.
I just hope they don't go Tracer if they're going to go Tracer this early.
I'm also curious about Ishbu here, though. Like, are they just going to grab Johanna?
Johanna seems like a safe pick. It doesn't necessarily fit the hard engage style that I was talking about, especially with a Tassadar. Yeah. You'll have wave clear, but you're not necessarily going to have any engagement tools, especially early game. Maybe new Johanna, but we're not on new Johanna.
But like statistically, when we look at him, it's ETC, Johanna, and Diablo as like the three most played, and Anub is actually fourth in that list, but I feel like we see a lot less Anub when it comes down to it, and they go for it.
Rightfully so, though, is that teams have been struggling ever since we saw the health nerf. I don't know how many health nerfs he's had this year.
And mages aren't as prominent anymore right now. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of variables that make him less impactful, but I mean, he does have 2 stuns baseline. He's like the only tank in the game that has that same kind of impact that can do AoE stuns on multiple heroes. All right, now Malfurion being hovered. Now Stukov. In reference to Malfurion, BBJ was pretty well known for that. This is a map where they do tend to play more Malf than other teams would. They do go Stukov. I think that's smart.
But Ariel is still a thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the old pairing. It's obviously not as prominent as it was a few months ago.
BBJ has not played Ariel in the recent cups, though. I don't think he has a single game. If I could be wrong, but I cannot remember a single game where BBJ played Ariel. They're the outliers in the open division when it comes to Ariel.
Secret strats.
Secret strats. You never know. You never know.
Ariel right over your shoulder, buddy.
Oh my God.
She's
Why does it always
you.
happen?
I don't know, but I like it. I'm glad we cut right back there. HeroesHearth has to make a decision on what type of damage they want to ban, unless they're afraid of the double support. Maybe they've got some tricks up their sleeve. But with the core part of that backline between TAS Vala, they're going to ban the Ariel. Now, even in Death, I would love to see them, and I think the big part about HeroesHearth, they might be holding the pocket Lucio for the potential Malthael, so that Malthael can be your counter. So when you go in, you'll see Lucio potentially on the side of HeroesHearth. You hit the sound barrier for the minute the Tormented Souls comes out. You have the potential Cocoon if that's a backup option if you don't want to go Lucio. So there's a few counter plays towards that, but we've seen some teams a little bit uncoordinated on it. We saw Stitches gorge an Avatar Murden yesterday instead of the Tormented Souls that came out a half second later.
Feels
so
bad.
It did feel real bad at that moment, and it was this map in particular. So the Malthael pickup, crucial pickup, but you have to have a support or some type of CC to deal with that. And Uberak right now, currently the only form of CC that they would have to deal with that. You talked about the double CC, but the Cocoon more impactful later,
absolutely,
so we'll see.
I feel like the Lucio is actually incredibly likely now, too. It's a good map for Lucio. BBJ does like the hero, and when like you said, it's a great, the sound barrier just to deny the Tormented Souls, that snap, scary, like, oh God, we're dying real fast.
But who's your
here.
solo at this point? Do you go
Lucio.
into...
It's Lucio TAS. And then you need a...
Is it Sonya? Is it Dahaka? Do you feel comfortable going that? Will it be the Leoric that we could potentially see?
They're doing neither, and they're going forward to the Nazebo. The late game, that'll be Arthlon's hero.
And Snaplock Lunara.
Tell me, that Uther, you don't hesitate.
You know, it's not only you see Uther, but it's like, look, I've already got Malthael. I'm going to go Lunara. Generally, double poison comps are pretty terrible, but against an Uther, you're like, all right, you know, like, good luck.
Have fun.
Yeah, you better hope you get a ton of life leech on Vala there from the Tassadar value, because they will struggle. Not a little, but a lot. And so the Cocoon, you're going to have to be very reserved. If it's a matter of like, look, I'm going to die rather than Cocoon somebody that doesn't really matter and I'm the only one that dies, sometimes you got to be the sacrificial lamb or the sacrificial bug in this sense. But if you use that early and then all of a sudden you've got dive, all of a sudden your whole team is in trouble, right? So...
You're not afforded the option to really engage a lot. You're relying more on just playing the objective, the rotation, getting zombie walls and things to give your team space around the turn-in, whereas looking for a team fight in a situation where maybe you're down. They're going to be 16. You're not going to be 16. You need that fight. You can't do that. You just don't have the opportunities with a composition like that because what you just said.
During the playoffs, we saw a Toads build. And if you can kind of shotgun with Toads against the Malthael diving in.
That was them trying to overwhelm Poison, whereas this time they're the ones that are going to be overwhelmed by that.
I'm just saying.
Maybe.
Shotgun is basically like your melee range and you just kind of hit, so all 3 or 5, depending on if it's finished, all 5 hit it. And that's basically a half health bar at that point. I don't know if we'll see that. You have the Gargantuan for the slow when somebody comes in. So there will be some interesting picks, I think, throughout this game. Could be as early as level 1, could be as early as 10. We might even see a Divine Storm to help deal with that. If Cocoon's there, then you might de-storm. This is going to be a tough game, I think, for HeroesHearth.
Tomb of the Spider Queen for game number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Get on social media. Let us know who you're rooting for in this series, because right now, Even in Death have a 1-0 lead. And we got Battery playing the Malfurion. It's going to be Lutano playing that Lunara. How New End going to be rocking Malthael this series. We got Frozen on Rhaegar, and rounding out the team, it's Homicidal and ETC.
He's the real one. Rocking, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Ishbu going to be on the Anubarak, as we talked about in the draft. BBJ on Uther. We'll see Arthalon on the Nazebo. McIntyre on that off-support role on Tassadar. And Crowan going to try and carry this bad boy home on the Vala. It is going to be the Spider build. No Toads coming out here from Arthalon.
A little bit more standard, a little bit more safe, I feel, going for the Spider build. We always have to refresh everyone's memory when it comes to Nazebo. You don't see him a lot in HGC. And the reason that Nazebo does see play is because he gets such a big, beefy power-up at level 20 from his trait. You need to make sure you last hit the minion. So on a map where Nazebo can really farm up, make sure you get to the late game on an even footing, then you have kind of just a carry, essentially. He's just so impactful. But in the early game, Nazeebo not necessarily going to be, you know, the same kind of impact that, say, a Kill Foss rotating and throwing down a Gravity Labs and a Living Bomb is. Yes, Zombie Wall gives you control. Yeah, the spiders do decent damage, but you got to get to the late game without falling behind.
Everything about this team screams late game. Nazeebo himself is a late game hero. His questing talent will take a little bit. Psystorm from Tassadar, taking a little bit. Regent Master from Anubarek. Hey, guess what? We've got another questing talent on the side of Vala, who's going to get that at level 4 if we get there through the pause. But everything about this team screams late game, just like our lights.
We did it. We brought them on. We just got to wave your hand in front of the sensor, and they just come back, and we managed it. So
I thought you clapped.
There's different flavors of lights in the world, J-How.
Go on. I want to see where this is going.
I got nothing. Anyways, so I'm terrified for Heroes Hearth late game draft. This is a composition that we've seen them do in Open Division, you know, or very similar comps where it looks okay, but it's against teams that are of a different caliber. Even in Death, maybe number 8 HGC Pro. But they're still HGC Pro League at the end of the day. Their practice, they know how to punish this. They know early game is their key. Look for those picks. Get ahead. Control the turn-in. And that is all they got to do. What do they have? ETC, Malfurion, Mouthveil. It's that easy, I say. But they have a composition that's going to be ahead. We're just about ready to roll back into Tomb Land. Are we going to zoom? Or are we going to cut? We're zooming. J-How. We got him.
I did that without even looking, by the way.
So I looked at the screen.
I did too.
It's like
but
a
you don't know
different
depth
dimension.
at that point. Of course Josh liked that.
Our producer loved it. Style points for Even in Death as they have that early comp. Moonfire for the additional clear. They got all the clear, really, that you're going to want here for Tomb. J-How, how is Heroes Hearth going to hold on in the early game?
I don't know. They used to be held it down, so they're used to holding on to things, and it is going to be tough for them to hold on here. This type of push is extremely difficult to deal with, especially in the manner that they run this. They do get the kill on Mouthful at the bottom. I was going to say the manner in which they run it is they're putting that second support, one of the supports, with Vala and getting that two-man pressure. It's something that they're known for, running that. They take advantage of Crowan on Greymane, Crowan on Vala, and they really just push into that. So this is what they do. Can they hold on elsewhere is the big question, because Nazeebo, as you said, late game hero, but so far he's doing his best.
Yeah, it's not like Nazeebo doesn't have clear, right? He's a fine hero, but we shall observe throughout this game. Spider build, keep our eyes on that questing talent to see when it does, of course, complete. Right now it is at 43 stacks for the level 1 talent, which is pretty solid this early in.
The thing for me is that we're getting the Moonfire build, full Moonfire, and BBJ and team are going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Crowan taking the long way out. BBJ,
lights out.
no peel.
Oh, they will actually get the turn here onto Homicidal and find the kill. McIntyre holding steady in the top. You say he can't stay, but he's got the Ghost of Uther.
That's what I'm saying, is that Frozen X can't stay there. Frozen X is like, oh, I'm re-engaging. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, Uther's still healing. You've still got a Tassadar nearby.
Yeah.
But the even trade there does, I think, help Heroes Hearth. They've got a slight lead in the XP at the moment, but furthermore, we're finally at a point where we have enough for turn-in. We'll see if Heroes Hearth tries to at least stall the early game by getting an early game turn-in for themselves.
Getting the trade there, getting the XP lead for Heroes Hearth is about as much you can ask for at this stage in the game. BBJ once again their target of choice to try to pressure, but Crowan happy to return the damage onto Lutano, and that's the focus point. Lutano, probably Thornwood Vines game, you think?
Given that it's Tomb of the Spider Queen, I think so. Don't have a whole lot. I mean, it's kind of the only sense of burst damage that they have, but again, you are going against an Uther, so maybe it will be better, as Hal eating a lot of shots there. The amount of pressure that's coming out from Crowan has been a bit much for Even in Death to deal with this early game.
Rhaegar does have 16 gems, and he is turning in right now, so that's 38 total on the side of Even in Death, looking for that first turn-in. Slight advantage in the XP, but again, nothing super big. Ooh, Battery actually going to take a lot of damage from the slow But we have Lutano rotating down, trying to
Oh, the
return the
Hungry
favor.
Arrow!
Yeah, the RNG smiles upon Crowan.
You can bless RNG on that one. And the thing about that is that we don't see a Loon's Grace at level 4. I talked about the full Moonfire build, and
Lutano?
speaking of, oh my goodness, the stun city.
So close.
Homicidal is just like, this,
Yeah,
this is bad.
I mean, he peeled. He kept Lutano
He put
alive.
his spray down. I don't know who put that spray down, but somebody's throwing down some even in death spray there. But no Loon's Grace means it's going to be a hard time to interrupt those channels, and that's kind of the catalyst for everything that just happened over the last 30 or 45 seconds was Malfurion stepping in further than he had to.
Yeah.
Leads to 2 kills and a turn in for Heroes Hearth.
Not too shabby. Battle level lead with that turn in will be significant. Try to get down a few towers. Typically speaking, you're hoping for 4 towers. That's a good first turn in for the Web Weavers. But if you can get more, that's fantastic, as level 10 advantage could be a very meaningful one here in this game for Heroes Hearth.
I'm trying to figure out, we see Hand of Protection, Uther's form of cleanse, as opposed to the kings there that we generally see to deal with the stuns, getting that additional armor. You've got the roots, you can basically self-root yourself. You've got ETC stuns instead, trying to make sure that nobody gets caught by the full stun or potentially the mosh pit. So Divine Shield plus Cleanse, you can definitely take care of 2 targets in the middle of a dive style like that from ETC. But right now, Heroes Hearth, they're well ahead in the race to 10.
They are. And when you just concede a fort like that, ooh, the pick that we missed up here in the top lane onto Nazeebo means good bit of gems lost. Experience will be lost in the top lane at this rate. But the counter pressure down bottom, they're like, well, we could just go soak top, or we could force you all to Hearthstone, lose experience in it as well, and defend your bottom lane while we have a 10 advantage and a Web Weaver that's holding on to its last little threads of life.
That's a big win.
That's a huge
That's a 2-level
win.
lead and opening up these lanes for potential pushes in the future.
And that's the HGC level shot calling that we see here in Heroes Hearth, right? Those decisions, when you have someone get picked, you make the most out of it. You actually turn it into an advantage.
Taking a look at the questing talents, none basically have been completed on the side of Heroes Hearth. Still about 3/4 of the way through most of those. 55 stacks, however, just on the Hungry Arrow build. So again, this team gets so much stronger late game. Between the questing talents and the Nazeebo, post-level 16 Nazeebo, terrifying. He already has 103 stacks towards that Vile Infection at 20, if we make it there. Because right now, Heroes Hearth 4 kills to 2 in complete control of this game.
They are. Level 10, however, Twilight Dream with things like Mosh Pit all being options now being selected become, you know, those are just team fight winning abilities. And if they don't have the snap response, Uther does decent in that situation. Mouthfeel becomes a big forum of how do we stop this? How do we deny that from having a huge impact? Yes, they do have Rain of Vengeance for an option for the Mosh Pit, but I feel like this is the hardest window for the game right now for the side of Heroes Hearth.
It's scary. It is, I mean, we talked about Tormented Souls earlier.
It's, yeah, I mean,
Just imagine that coming at you with the solo Uther. You're going to have to get that locked down again.
Oh,
Cocoon's
no.
going to have to be there. There's
Cleanse?
the power slide. There's the cleanse. Cleanse is already out, which means Mosh Pit
It was needed,
looks
though.
even better.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Gargantuan theoretically can help control that space.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of getting control, Lutano taking all kinds of damage. The power slide over by Homicidal. Ancestral was used there. They're looking for a slight re-engage, but they're not going to be able to find it.
You never want to use Ancestral Heal on a Lunara. I mean, kept her alive. That's a long cooldown.
Ishbu looking for any target on the backside. The
He-
force wall is going to lock out Battery. He's getting caught, but he's going to use a Twilight Dream in response. But his health bar is going to get instantly deleted. And speaking of deleted, Tormented Souls is deleting the health bars of Heroes Hearth right now.
The Mosh Pit on 3 does end up going down, and Gargantuan in the back is doing wonders for the team right now. Crowan doesn't quite have the cooldown for the Q. Homicidal does die. Frozen X greeted by a Hungry Arrow, but he dodges it, juking upwards, and it connects with the tower, and Hot Frozen X lives as a result.
The jukes are real right there. Crowan's like, I got it. Oh, feels bad, man. But they did end up getting a slight favorable lead in that fight. They didn't drop any gems. They still have 45 out of 55. They might have lost a few, but they still maintain their full level lead.
Which is huge. I mean, that's a big moment. I feel like that earlier Ancestral, maybe that cost them that fight. I don't know. But honestly, this is definitely a moment for Heroes Hearth to just continue holding on to that position, collect these last few gems, getting Lutano here. Best case scenario, but they might lose Crowan in the process, however. So an even trade McIntyre in a dicey spot has the dimensional shift. Will have a heal from Uther.
I was gonna say, who's baiting who there?
Oh,
Nubrak getting caught into the roots. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna re-engage, but without much damage there, probably not a lot you can do.
73 in the bank, only 5 needed for even in death to get that first turn, and it is a 13 disadvantage right now with both of the main damage dealers off the table. Rhaegar doing his best to zone the Nazeebo and Tassadar away from the bottom coffer, and also we have BBJ and Nubarak up here doing the same. Battery becomes the target, don't quite have the follow-up available, but we do have a blue turn-in on the Web Weavers.
Rhaegar snuck in the bottom. They're close to 13, so they can be fairly aggressive here, knowing that they're fighting on even talent tiers. Nazeebo clearing up that bot lane, pushing it back to make sure that Web Weaver value is minimized. They will turn their attention, however, to the mid lane, see how much they can defend.
10 seconds on the Mosh, so you're not going to see a full-on team fight for a few more seconds here. They're just going to see the actually safe posture for Heroes Hearth as well. McIntyre gets interrupted as he's looking for the Hearth to replenish the full tank on his hero, and honestly, when you slow it down that much, he probably can't even go back now.
The poison poke from Lunara has been significant in this push here.
Crowan respecting the flank attempt from Homicidal, gets to safety, but the fort is picked up regardless. And with that last hit from Lunara, Lutana will finish it off. Bottom Web Weaver half health in the bottom lane.
Remember phase 1? How many times when we got to watch Even in Death and Lutana would just go off on heroes? It's good to see him still putting the pressure on no matter what hero, no matter what division he's in.
I feel like from phase 1, he was our most talked about player to watch in the entire
assassin role.
Yeah, especially in the assassin role. And yeah, he has definitely proven that here. However, on the side of Heroes Hearth, we just saw the last questing talent outside of Conjurer's Pursuit or
Regen Master,
Master completed. So we have the Spiders, the Size Storm, and the Hungering Arrow all full power, looking to enhance their ability to slay their opponents.
They don't want to get in these slow skirmishes because Lunar will win out. They get good force walls, but unless you get that immediate follow-up, it's going to look a lot like this, where Lutano just constantly is putting out the poison damage, spreading that around. See Splintered Spear, of course, just waiting for the next auto attack.
Yeah, it's harder now, too, because, they're getting these nice force walls. McIntyre is definitely fantastic with it, but the added ice block thrown there from Malfurion makes things a lot more flexible when it comes to that. Good poke onto Homicidal, but we talked about Ishbu and his ability to actually burrow charge into a fight. Commonly, you don't want to do that the way a lot of other tanks would. And they're split up too much. They have to concede their positioning, and they're now going to be down basically another full turn-in with a lot in the bank left for even in death.
The fact that Heroes Hearth was so split, they couldn't find that engage, and Lutano the entire time just poking down. We saw the pressure that was able to be put onto Vala as well. Heroes Hearth will struggle in these long skirmish fights. Nazeebo will help with that post-16, especially post-20, but in those moments right there, even in death, playing to their strengths, holding it down. Now they've got to hold it down again as the Web Weaver is going to be pushing.
Yeah, they still have the bottom fort. That'll at least leave that as not a super big priority for them, but it is also going to give experience, even in death, towards level 16, which they want for this push. Massively enhancing their capability. Web Weaver slowly but surely dying to the poke there of Nazeebo, and now the tower's in range for some of the hits. So keep wall, maybe they'll lose one.
This is big time power spike. Spider Colony, such a huge talent advantage for Nazeebo. Psionic Echo that we're going to have coming out. The Psy Storm has been completed. We're looking at a lot of damage potential, a lot of defensive damage potential in the siege department here for Heroes Hearth.
Yeah. Also, the burrow becomes a little bit more viable for the engage, just giving them that flexibility they've needed all game long. Maybe less passive play for a Nubarak in the situations where he's not sure if he wants to dive in. Yes, they have been cleaned up. There is exactly enough gems in the pockets of even in death for another turn-in. So it's something that Heroes Hearth need to be mindful of. 2 seconds before those coffers are active again. And we do see the posture around this bottom lane.
Ishbrew being poked down. Frozen X with a lunge in the minute he burrow charges out. So he's in deep. The force wall's got him locked out for the moment. They got to be careful in choke points because of that mosh pit. They recognize that. They fall back. They're looking for a different angle. Again, getting those turn-ins are going to be crucial. Whoever gets the next one should be able to take control of this late game. But right now, we've got ourselves a fight in Lutano.
It's only 6, okay.
Just still going to town.
35 and Homicidal. He's really the one they need to keep their eyes on as often as possible and make sure he doesn't turn in. 8 from Lutano, whatever. They can concede those 8 gems from being locked in. But where is the window of opportunity? They're so afraid of the mosh, but they're also trying to get in those gems from McIntyre while doing this dance against Even in Depth.
Crowan trying to put the pressure onto Lutano. Frozen X keeping him healthy and alive. So Lutano looks to re-engage. The Thornwood Vines continuing to go out. The shield up. Crowan trying to heal right now. This is a big moment for both teams around these turn-ins, and right now neither one willing to concede. We have this poke, or we have the stun. We have the deletion onto the Rhaegar. The stun in return onto Homicidal. The fear of the power slide into Mosh Pit. They have an advantage for the moment, but there is a second support on the side of Even in Depth.
Even in Depth does have a second support. Homicide taking huge damage. Nice and Pill going from the Anuba rack, but the silence comes up from the Malfurion, buying some space for the team. Battery is running, but the Gargantuan gets the stun. One more slap would do it, but the knockback is there from ETC to hold on to his team. But Burrow Charge for the re-engage. The Hungering Arrow going to be enough for that kill. And right now, Heroes Hearth have taken the game into their hands.
Hit me with that boss. Web Weaver turn in Heroes Hearth. Show me what you got. Take control of this game and see if you can get yourself a keep, because that was beautiful. The instant cocoon that came out into the zombie wall, into the spiders with that spider colony, the solo target. That's a lot of spiders nipping at your heels. Heroes Hearth took control. Looked really good that fight. Have now 10 kills to 4.
You remember that song by LMFAO? They're like, wiggle, 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 wiggle. Yeah, I just picture the spiders being like, nibble, 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 nibble. Yeah, I don't know why. My brain is weird, but the boss is in the top lane, and it's going to take down the fort. Yes, control with the Web Weavers is going to make this a huge moment for Heroes Hearth, because level 20, guess what? Nazeebo has already completed that trait. It will be ready for action once 20 is picked up, and those spiders are going to nibble, 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 nibble.
Nibble, nibble, nibble. Just as much as you have anti-siege potential for dealing with the push, Nazeebo post 16, you're just going to see him throw out spiders, spiders, and guess what? More spiders, and he is just putting the pressure on, and the Web Weavers are just now making their way here. The boss sitting at 50% still.
Wall is opened, and yeah, I mean, they're not going to be hyper aggro without 20. They know they have a good position here. They want to make sure the boss, the Gargantuan, and the Web Weaver can take care of this keep, but they don't necessarily need to dive in, because again, Mosh Pit always something you have to be afraid of. They get the keep, they carefully back away, maybe the mid wall will go down. Perfect play from Heroes Hearth with that phase.
They have 20 now, and so that means Even in Depth holding on to so many gems will have a hard time. Lutano, the Hungering Arrow, hops over, but the return damage, Homicidal is going to be the priority target. No dive, Force Wall going to be a little bit late there. We do have the Force Wall upgrade at level 20, which means they will be coming fast and furious. So we'll see if they can continue to lock people down, get the picks.
Crone is like a torpedo. When he decides he wants to kill you, just see hunger, roll, hunger towards that target.
Look at that.
Trying to find the kill. Battery gets torpedoed.
He gets torpedoed. Don't sleep on Crowan, because he will teach you a lesson, and he goes in. The siege potential right now, you have minions. The spiders are going in. The Force Wall is going to lock down. Lunar is going to go down before the Ancestral can land, and now we're going to see Frozen X going downtown, baby, and that's going to be game. As Heroes Hearth, Bill will walk on by and get the core to 0 health and take game number 2.
That was brutal. Both of those members looked forward just a little bit, and Heroes Hearth ripped their limbs off.
That's savage.
It was savage.
Doesn't even matter. I mean,
well,
Arthalon is shooting towards the core, or towards the base. Oh, Arthalon. Never change, buddy, never change.
And he never will. When a game starts, Arthalon is the kind of player that if he's on fall side, you have to listen to that Buccaneer fall side whistle, 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 whistle again and again. If he's beating you and on the core, he will springboard in your Hall of Storms every single time he beats you, and he will spray that Even in Death spray on your corpse, even if you're Even in Death, because Arthalon is a class act.
So whistle, 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 wiggle, 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 nibble, nibble, nibble.
Hey, man.
We're here all day, apparently.
All day, and it's just getting started. Tied 1-1 right now as Heroes Hearth, a lot of veterans, show that, yes, even in death, you might have won game one, but we can roll you too. Like some dough, and we'll need you on the counter. JL wants me to give me all these things, and I'm giving it to him. Even my producer can't say the commercial is ready. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. Oh, we're going to cut. We're zooming. JL.
The fear of the power slide into Mosh Pit. They have an advantage for the moment, but there is a second support on the side of Even in Death.
Even in Death does have a second support. Homicide taking huge damage. Nice impale going from the Anuba rack, but the silence comes up from the Malfurion, buying some space for the team. Battery is running, but the Gargantuan gets the stun. One more slap would do it, but the knockback is there from ETC to hold on to his team. But Burrow charge for the re-engage. The Hungering Arrow going to be enough for that kill. And right now, Heroes Hearth have taken the game into their hands.